Please, kindly be seated. I believe I'm too young to wear the hat of an old lady. I don't have that wisdom of the old ladies. Let me also add my voice in welcoming all of you to this afternoon presser, and I'll do all I can to be as brief as possible. Beloved Ghanaians, democracy will work only if we fight for it, says President Barack Obama of the United States. I swore an oath to uphold, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, and that I will do right to all manner of persons in accordance with the Constitution and the laws and conventions of Parliament, without fear or favor, affection, or ill will. I concluded the swearing of the oath with a call on God to help me. I'm very confident and have faith in God to see me through these dark days of Ghana and our young democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to start this presser by disabusing and setting the minds of Ghanaians at ease. There is no constitutional crisis in this country. I repeat, there is no constitutional crisis in this country. The Parliament of Ghana is alive and working. Let nobody mislead, misinform, or disinform you and the country. The democratic system we adopted and enacted, as captured in the Constitution 1992 and fleshed out in various laws, processes, procedures, and practices, is what has been triggered, and it is working. Let us allow it to work. Democracy is about the rule of law. Let the law work. The democratic system we adopted and enacted recognizes that in the course of operationalizing the system, disagreements will occur and challenges and problems will arise. The system has put in place mechanisms, structures and institutions, processes, procedures and rules to follow and apply to resolve the disagreement, convert the challenges into opportunities, and provide solutions to the problems. This is what is being pursued and applied. There is no constitutional crisis in the country. Beloved Ghanaians, I have served Parliament and the people of Ghana continuously for over 32 years as a politician and over 42 years as a public servant. I cherish the role Parliament plays in our democracy, and my mission is to leave Parliament a stronger institution than I met it. Parliament is alive and working. It has not been dissolved, prorogued, prohibited, suspended, or terminated. The plenary sitting and meetings of Parliament were adjourned indefinitely due to lack of quorum to take decisions created by a walkout staged by the MPP members who were available as a result of a disagreement. The cause of the disagreement, which led to a disorder, had to be resolved with time and engagement of many more leaders than those in Parliament. The adjournment was done by the lawful authority, the Speaker of Parliament. Let us stop pressing the panic buttons and fear-mongering and allow the system to work. Anger and indecent language rather inflames the situation. There can be no democracy without patience, tolerance, discipline, collaboration, the love for one another, and consensus building. Ladies and gentlemen, one may ask, what led to this disagreement? Following a statement by Honorable Dr. Akufo-Addo and Judiciary on a matter he considered to be of urgent public importance on the 15th of October 2024, and comments thereof by other members, as permitted by the standing orders of Parliament, I communicated the findings of my inquiry into the matter as the Speaker of House on the 17th of October 2024, the contents of which has been construed to be a ruling. The Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin disagreed vehemently with the contents of my communication as the Speaker of Parliament and proceeded to advance an earlier action he had commenced in the Supreme Court on the 15th of October 2024 to prevent the Speaker of Parliament from receiving and making any pronouncement on the subject matter of the statement made by Honorable Dr. Akufo-Addo and Judiciary until the final determination of the matter by the Supreme Court. The rest, we say, is history. Ladies and gentlemen, being a party to the suit in my official capacity, I am mindful of what I say. But it must be said, the suit before the Supreme Court raises not just legal questions, but more importantly, has profound implications for our democratic system of governance. At its core is the very essence of our democracy. While many legal arguments have been advanced in and out of the court, I recognize the fact that connected political and governance implications have not been addressed sufficiently to enrich the national discourse. It is my considered view this should also be vigorously articulated to give a holistic approach to resolving the issue. As one of the protagonists in this matter, and a long-time practitioner, it will be a disservice not to respectfully draw your attention to some of the facts, principles, and ethics of politics and governance, the practice and procedures of Parliament, and what is generally referred to as parliamentary law, to throw light on some aspects of the matter and to clarify the considerations that underpinned my actions. The current brouhaha may be likened to a power play between the arms of government, and has the potential to undermine our democracy and the authority of Parliament. Its outcomes could subvert Ghana's constitutional order and the democratic system. Ghanaians have toiled, sacrificed their lives, and shed blood to establish for decades. Ladies and gentlemen, recent acts of the judiciary and executive, and I see them as interference in the workings of Parliament, pose a direct challenge to the essence, jurisdiction, authority, powers, and functioning of the esteemed institution of Parliament, which is the repository of the sovereign will of the people of Ghana. It is increasingly becoming clear the judiciary and the executive are seemingly colluding to weaken Parliament. The decision of the Ghanaian voters in the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections is clear and loud to all discerning people. The decision is obviously a preference for a consensual and collaborative governance to a winner-take-all government. The majoritarian system of Parliament, where the minority have a say, but the majority have its way, was rejected by the voters. They rather opted for inclusivity, collaboration, consensus building, leaving nobody behind. The equal representation of the two major parties in Ghana, resulting in the composition of a hung parliament, to the voters is the better way forward for our dear nation. The expectation of the voters is this will lead to the constitution of a parliament where the national interests will prevail as against partisan or parochial interests. This is the context and the peculiar situation I have to preside over as a speaker. I'm the first speaker in the Fourth Republic, in fact, in the history of Ghana, to work with a president who belongs to a different party, to work without a majority party in Parliament, but with an evenly divided Parliament, 137, 137 apiece. That is a hung Parliament. Decision making has therefore not been smooth sailing. As the Speaker of Parliament, I hold the balance in favor of the national interest, but sometimes bend backwards to accede to government requests because government has been given the mandate to govern. It is with this understanding I led the board of the Parliamentary Service and members of Parliament to provide procedural rules of engagement to actualize this goal and to provide for the possible types of government as envisaged in the Constitution. These possibilities include an election of an independent president to form a government, somebody who contests, as we have now, as an independent presidential candidate can be elected by the voters as the president of Ghana. How is he going to work with Parliament to get his or her business, that is government business, approved by Parliament? we have a possibility of a minority government where the voters vote for the president, but he has less members of parliament, and that's a minority government. How is he going to get the majority members of parliament to always approve his business for him to govern the nation? We can also have a coalition or a merger of parties government. And the familiar one we know is the majority government. These are possible governments constitutionally guaranteed in Ghana. In the current hung parliament, the new standing orders of parliament had to cater for such a government by a number of provisions in the standing orders. We also provided provisions for all the other options of government that I just explained. For instance, a day which we called a decision day has been designated in the new standing orders, where the Speaker, in consultation with the leadership of the House, will set aside to allow members of Parliament who are ministers and deputy ministers the opportunity to be present in Parliament to be counted in support of government position to ensure government business does not suffer for lack of government members of Parliament in Parliament. Despite the above, often the number of government members present still don't add up due to the nature of the duties and responsibilities of ministers and deputy ministers. The NDC members of Parliament, however, understood the situation and on a daily basis cooperated with the MPP members of Parliament to see government business through. In spite of this, the NDC members are said to be saboteurs of government business by the MPP members of Parliament and the followers of the new patriotic party. Those of you who cover proceedings on a daily basis are witnesses as to how sometimes I have looked at the members of the NDC in a very stern manner, which made them give in to their objections, just to get government business going. Ladies and gentlemen, the powers of the judiciary ends where the nose of Parliament starts. The Constitution is very clear on freedom of speech and of proceedings of Parliament. Articles 115 and 116 out of Parliament. Article 116. Subject to the provisions of this article, but without prejudice to the general effect of Article 115 of this Constitution, civil or criminal proceedings shall not be initiated against a member of Parliament in any court or place out of Parliament for any matter or thing brought by him in or before Parliament by petition, bill, motion, or otherwise. This means happenings in Parliament must remain in Parliament. So the court must, and has always been, hesitant to interfere in the proceedings and decisions of Parliament. In the celebrated case of Akufo versus the Attorney General, the Supreme Court affirmed that happenings in Parliament are a closed book. Despite these provisions, the courts are replete with debates and proceedings of Parliament. Most worrying is these proceedings are initiated by some members of Parliament, even leaders of Parliament, who ought to know better. Parliamentarians who are to be loyal to Parliament rather than to the Supreme Court run to the Supreme Court at the slightest opportunity to use the Supreme Court to undermine Parliament. This might be one of the reasons Parliament and members of Parliament are not respected and treated with disdain. This was exhibited by the President's refusal to even receive the LGBTQ+ bill, duly processed and passed by Parliament, without any legal basis. The judiciary is supportive of this conduct by the receipt and processing of a suit on this subject matter. These are dangerous precedents in our democratic journey. Both the President and the judiciary have sinned against the Constitution and must seek the opportunity to confess and repent to be forgiven. I am confident the battles we are fighting today will make our democracy stronger and more vibrant in the future. I believe in the supremacy of the Constitution. Mark my words, the supremacy of the Constitution, not the supremacy of the judiciary or Supreme Court. I also believe in a vibrant Parliament that is respected and accords its due on political questions as long established by law and decided cases. A Parliament that understands, reflects, and embodies the will of the people and defends its constitutional prerogatives only works in the interest of Ghana and Ghanaians, not a rubber stamp Parliament subservient to the whims and caprices of the executive and or the judiciary. Again, I strongly believe that Parliament was one of the institutions President Barack Obama had in mind when he opined, while in Ghana in 2009, that Africa needs strong institutions and not strong men. I'm happy he didn't add women. Parliament must be strong to perform its legislative function and the indispensable function of holding the President to account. That is the oversight function. No other person or body has the gravitas and constitutional mandate to do so in Ghana. The public, media, civil society, and other partners in governance can make constructive inputs and criticize actions and omissions of arms of government. But these bodies are not constitutionally and legally structured and mandated to hold the executive to account. Parliament is elected. It is, at its best, the will of the people, legally and constitutionally structured and mandated to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, my dream, therefore, is a patriotic one. The existence of a firm, effective, efficient, and responsive parliament whose members place national and constituency interests ahead of narrow partisan or personal interests. At last, this is yet to materialize in Ghana. Parliament weakens itself when its members keep running to our courts to settle or seek favorable determinations of not just legal matters, but essentially political and governance questions. It is my strong belief the matter before the Supreme Court can be settled within Parliament through matured deliberations and compromises. Please, make no mistake. Not all the strong men President Obama warned us about come in military uniforms. Some come dressed in suits. I hope in my lifetime, Ghana shall have a parliament and a speaker who are truly independent from Jubilee or Flagstaff House or any headquarters in the conduct of parliamentary business. Let me state unequivocally, Parliament owes its duty to the people who established and elected its members to serve and represent them. The wheels of Parliament will continue to turn, and no person will be allowed to disrupt parliamentary proceedings or to undermine the democratic mandate of Parliament. When I ruled in January 2021 on the issue of which side constitutes majority and minority in Parliament, the ruling was in favor of the majority group then. It was not an act of lawlessness as to cause constitutional crisis. When I ruled in the matter of the vacation of seats by Honorable Kennedy Ajapong, Honorable Henry Korti, and Honorable Sarah Adjoa Safo, the question of the interpretation of the Constitution was not raised. When my predecessor declared the former seat vacant in 2020, applying the same provisions of Article 97, the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to interpret and enforce provisions of the Constitution was not invoked. Peace reigned in these instances, and nobody cried and ran to the Supreme Court under the guise of constitutional interpretation. If I may ask, is it a legal matter for the Supreme Court to decide as to which side of the House constitutes the majority or minority? It is for good reason that justice is said to be blind, and further, that justice must not only be done, but must be seen to be done in all cases, not in only those cases to which some people appear to be sentimentally attached. Fellow Ghanaians, I respectfully call on the Supreme Court to apply the same swiftness with which the motion ex parte in the Eastern matter was granted to the case involving the president's refusal to receive the Human Rights and Family Values Bill passed by Parliament, which has been pending before the same court for almost a year without being heard. Ladies and gentlemen, consistency is not just an ideal, but the foundation of life. The court cannot enjoin 4 members of Parliament from serving their constituents for 12 weeks, but was very eager to deny the constituents of Assin North their representation because of the issue of allegiance. The court cannot deny the constituents of Sal the sanctity of representation for years. The court cannot even see that the Constitution itself permits a denial of representation within 3 months to the holding of a general election. It's in the Constitution. Ladies and gentlemen, the Parliament of Ghana shall commence sitting as by law prescribed from tomorrow, November 7th, 2024. I have earlier instructed the clerk to Parliament to transmit the LGBTQ plus bill to the President for assent. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, I'm aware of the business the government wants to transact through Parliament, and I'm willing to cooperate and collaborate with government. Despite all that I have said, Ghana first. And all Ghanaians should bear the President, Parliament, the Judiciary, and all our leaders in prayer for the betterment of our people and country. With this, I thank you all for your attention. Assalamu alaikum.
The Right Honourable Speaker of the 8th Parliament with that address. May we please be seated. This is the Speaker's press conference, and he will now take questions from members of the media. We will take them in tranches of 4. Please, brevity is the name of the game. So you get up, you tell us your name, your media house, and then your question. In order for us to get as many questions in as possible, one man, one machete. And please, the preambles, let's use them. The Director of Media Relations will assist in this particular endeavor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, my name is Ibrahim Al-Hassan. I report for GH1 TV and Star FM. Okay, so one man, one question. Mr. Speaker, I just want a clarity. Have you re-instructed the clerk to resubmit the Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill to the presidency, or you relating to the old instruction you gave, which was rejected during the transmission?
My name is Kwame Minka, TVXYZ Power FM. My question is simple. So tomorrow, as Parliament sits, tell us exactly how the certain arrangement would be. Because what we've been hearing is that the minority then has its majority, and would they remain as such, or there will be a shift? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kweku Asante from Joy News and Joy FM. Mr. Speaker, during the proceedings in court, the Attorney General had cause to say that you had committed a crime by illegally procuring the services of Mr. Sorry in litigating those matters in the Supreme Court. Specifically, he puts out a letter that has been signed by the PPA CEO rejecting a sole source procurement that you wanted to do as regards to Mr. Sorry. Please, can you respond to the specifics and allegations that you had committed a crime in that regard?
My name is Havila Kekele, Class FM. Right Honorable Speaker, there have been several occasions where members of Parliament sometimes, through disagreement with some of your rulings or pronouncements on the floor, use certain words at you. How do you feel about some of these things?
Mr. Speaker, we will respectfully take a fifth one. We'll take a fifth one because of the brevity of the question, so that we can get as many questions.
Thank you very much. My name is John Amensa, and I report for GBC Online. Just to reiterate the point earlier made by my colleague. Speaker, as we speak today, the media, we are somehow confused. You address MP as a minority leader and or a majority leader. You are told that, please, that's not my title, or they'll just cut the line. Please, can you settle this debate for us? Who is the majority leader today in Parliament?
The Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
These are very interesting questions. The first one is easy. It's a fresh instructions to the clerk to Parliament to resubmit the bill to the President. I'll leave it at that. The second one, please, it's not part of the duties of a speaker to decide where an MP should sit in Parliament. It's not my duty. That determination in Ghana's situation, in various parliaments, these things we are talking about, majority side, minority side, don't exist any longer. That's why in my ruling I use the term old school. The British model, government, opposition, benches, and a carpet in between them. And so when you are shifting your political lineage, you have to cross that carpet to the other side. And that is why you have the term carpet crossing. Our parliament is not arranged in the form of government and opposition. And Ghana don't like the term opposition. So we decided to adopt the terms from the United States of America, majority and minority. So you can even sit anywhere. But the numbers determine who is majority and who is minority. But in our parliament, the practice is for those who constitute majority to sit at the right side of the speaker, and those who constitute minority to sit at the left side of the speaker. That is because after independence in 1957, we adopted the Westminster system, which is practiced in the United Kingdom. But we changed that, even to the extent that the arrangement of the floor of the House is in a horseshoe. So it's not always the case that the people to the left side are all members of minority. That's not the case now. And there's good reason behind this. As in the textbooks. The determination, therefore, in our situation, as to who constitute majority or minority, is a question of numbers. As to where they sit, is the determination first of the political parties who influence who should lead the caucus or party wing in Parliament. They, after various consultations, decide that these 5 people should occupy these positions in leadership. And so they are given the chairs in front. Then in consultation with them, the 5 leaders, they determine who should sit behind them. Because as a leader, you need somebody that you have trust, confidence in, who has the capacity, so that when you are in some difficulty or you have a challenge, you can just lean over and listen to his or her whisper. So you have a say as to who sits behind you. The speaker is not involved in this. The whips, particularly the chief whips, lead in trying to identify who should sit behind. And it also has to do with years of experience in the House, and also the issue of gender and other professional backgrounds, until you get to those who are at the back. Even though we don't sit on benches, we still use the term backbenchers. The speaker is not involved in this. After they have agreed on it, they then get in touch with the parliamentary service through the clerk, who will get his officer at the table, together with the marshal, and they will get the names, print them, and place them on the various tables as decided by the various caucuses. The speaker don't come in this. Please. How can you call speaker to come and decide where people should sit? It's not part of my duties. Number 3. I will plead with you. Go and look at that letter. He's the Attorney General. He did his service in Parliament here. I was leader then, when he was doing his service here. Yes. So I know him very well before he became Attorney General. Read that letter carefully. And that's one of the things they are missing. There's vast difference between Parliament as an institution and the office of the Speaker. The Speaker is a party before the Supreme Court, not Parliament. So as Speaker, when the Attorney General is taking a different position from my position, I should still contract him as my counsel. I will leave it at that. Once I'll meet the Attorney General and I'll tell him my peace of mind on some legal issues and pronouncements he made at the Supreme Court. You know, Attorney Generals must be respected as learned. But it should not be part of what Obama referred to. Not me. It will not work. Number 4. Half of the terms they use against me is part of the hazards of the work. We're doing everything as leaders, not to bring up our youth to believe that indecent, intemperate, insulting, and offensive language is the way to go. But people interpret freedom of speech to mean that freedom of speech without responsibility. You can just use any words. But you know how offensive it is to you yourself or your parents when it's used against your father or mother. But for me, what I believe in is that you reap what you sow. That one, nobody can run away from it. I think the last question, I answered it. As to who is majority, who is minority, I made it clear to all of you. It's not a function or duty of the Speaker.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. We will take the next tranche. I see Ahmed, the Director of Media Relations, is working to do that. Again,
thank you
your
very
name?
Much. My name is Ahmed Usman Khalid, Imam Zakaria, Gurguruwe. No, I have to plead the Constitution. Please, I beg mine. Yes. Can you open Article 1 or 2? I just want to quote what the Chief Justice read in Supreme Court in the absence. My name is Ahmed Usman Khalid, Imam Zakaria Gurguruwe. Oh, a freelance journalist, not from MPP headquarters, please. My school fees was paid by the Speaker, so. Council, Article 2. Yeah. I just want to read what the Chief Justice read in the absence of the Speaker. I didn't want to paraphrase, I just want to read. Article 2. She says this way. 1. A person who alleges, I'll leave all and come to surplus 4. Failure to obey or carry out the term of an order or direction made or given under the clause 2 of the article in this Constitution commits a high crime under this Constitution and shall, in the case of the President or the Vice President, constitute a ground for removal from office under this Constitution. Right Honourable Speaker, this was read before an open court, Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court was saying that it has instructed you to adhere to its orders. Failure is that she's going to apply Article 2, Clause 4 on you. That even the President or the Vice President, if they go contrary, or if they may refuse to, follow the order, they suffer this particular punishment. Right Honourable Speaker, have we gone contrary to the Supreme Court's orders, ruling, or judgment? Thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Evans Otsulabi from TV SYZ and Power FM. Mr. Speaker, we want to know whether the 4 seats which were declared vacant still remain vacant.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Simon again. I report for the Accra Times. In one of the interviews former Majority Leader, Honorable Chairman, had with Joy News, he said after your predecessor, former Speaker Michael Quay, gave the ruling in 2020, he disagreed with former Speaker Michael Quay, and you supported his stance. I want to find out why did you go back to support your former predecessor when you expressed disagreement with his earlier ruling? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. My name is George A.C. and I'm with Ghana Web. By your ruling on the 17th, the
4 MPs were supposed to have vacated their seat, and the court has ordered them to come back. What is your instruction to the clerk and those who are responsible? Are they going to be allowed to come into Parliament or not?
Thank you very much, Rather Honorable Speaker. My name is Nana Kwaku Bofa, and I work with Opimso Radio in Menchia, Kumasi. Speaker, you have been accused of interpreting 1992 Constitution when you declare the 4 seat vacant. Speaker, I want to know, did you do so? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. I think we've taken the fifth one, and so Mr. Speaker may answer the 5 questions with Kweku Bofa's own on whether he misinterpreted the provisions in the 1992 constitutions when he declared the 4 seats vacant. Mr. Speaker.
Well, you're talking about the same matter using different words. But that is before the Supreme Court. And I've given instructions to my lawyers to handle that. So that is not a matter for me to comment on. My lawyers are handling that. So all questions dealing with those issues before the court will allow the court to handle that. What I would draw your attention to is that the practice and procedure of Parliament is unknown to many, including the court. And anything I do on the floor, I refer to the standing orders. The courts can declare the standing orders as unconstitutional or unlawful or whatever. Until that is done, as the presiding officer, I'm bound on issues of procedure, proceedings, and practice, apply those rules. And that is what we did. That is why in my statement, I drew your attention to the fact that what I did on the floor was just sharing of information, communicating to the members that this issue that was raised, and by the standing orders, I have options. Could have set up a committee to go through it and submit a report. That report could even lead to legislation. Or I could go and inquire into it myself and then come and inform the House of my findings. That is in the standing orders. That is what I said is being construed to mean ruling. In our parliamentary practice, you don't make ruling when statements are made. Statements are commented upon. But the nature of the subject matter was debatable. And because of its importance, I had to give room for many more members to comment. But in trying to comment, they debated it. So that was what happened. But I'm clear as to my rule. Just inquire into it, come and share with the House in the form of information what your findings revealed. And that was all what I did. I did not make any order. Go and read the proceedings. I did not make any order. And for my friend, the veritable Honorable Oseche Mensah Bonsu, I'm sure he showed you the evidence where we had that discussion. He disagreed, and I supported him. And now
I have made a U-turn. I thought you should have asked him when my predecessor made the ruling whether his side disagreed with him and allowed the same member, who is now second deputy speaker, to continue to sit, or his seat was vacated. Did they agree with him or disagree with him? You should have asked him. So that one, he will need to produce evidence to show that this is what happened. I don't know where we sat and held a discussion, or it's on the floor and the official reports are there for you to go and read, whether I got up and in my contribution disagreed with my predecessor. That is for you to make your findings on. And what's the last question? I answered all. Yes. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. We'll take 2 more tranches and then we'll be done. We're doing well so far. The Director of Media Relations is still going around with the microphones.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. You said the President and the Judiciary have sinned against the... My name is Ohene Pons. I work with Adom FM and Adom TV. Now you said the President and the Judiciary have sinned against the Constitution. Would you tell us more on that? What would you say that will be the things or the acts they have done that will constitute, in your opinion, sin against the Constitution?
Good afternoon, Right Honourable Speaker. My name is Mia Yukuoka. I work for City FM and Channel 1 TV. Now, Article 112, Clause 3 of the Constitution, as well as the Standing Orders 53, have been invoked by the NPP caucus for the 3rd time this year, whenever you adjourn the House indefinitely. Now, we want to find out, is this an abuse of that provision, and what has been its impact on other legislative processes? Thank you.
My name is Emmanuel Akoli of Peace FM. Speaker, a number of people have described this 8th Parliament as very chaotic, based on events that which happened when this Parliament came into being and what is happening currently. Mr. Speaker, how do you see this Parliament? Are you proud of the 8th Parliament? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kwabena Eshring Martin. I report for Original TV and Original FM. Mr. Speaker, I would like to know what influenced your decision of adjourning Parliament sine die the last time we had our sittings, and what will be your decision if the same situation which happened the last sitting continue tomorrow?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Clement Akolo. I report for Parliamentary News 360. I also double as the Communication Officer for Parliamentary Network Africa. Mr. Speaker, you mentioned that both the President and the Judiciary have sinned. And when you look at Article 122 of the Constitution, it talks about contempt of Parliament. So if they have sinned, do they fall foul of the contempt of Parliament, and what are you going to do about it? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ben. I think that's the 5th question for this tranche. I get the feeling that this could be the last one. Am I right, colleagues? Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, if you may answer the 5 questions that have been referred to.
The two of you raised a question about the sinning of the President and the Judiciary. Please go through the Constitution. or the laws of Ghana, there is nowhere where the president can refuse to receive a bill passed by Parliament. In fact, the crafters of the Constitution are so careful that they even took away veto power from the president. So in Ghana, our president cannot veto a bill passed by Parliament. It's clear in the Constitution that the president will receive the bill passed by Parliament. If he has concerns, he will communicate to Parliament that I have concerns on this bill that you have passed within 7 days. Then he has 14 days to put across those concerns back to Parliament, and Parliament is called upon to reconsider the bill, taking his inputs into consideration. That is what is in the Constitution and the laws of Ghana. So if the president refuses to even receive the bill, what has he done to the Constitution? You understand? 2, in the Constitution, the president is permitted to refer the bill to the Council of State for advice. He didn't even do that. So the term I even used is very mild. In the case of the judiciary, a bill is a bill. It's not law. It's just a bill. This is a draft that is being discussed. The judiciary is going to do what? Be part of the law-making process. Tell us what to do in the bill. It's only when it's passed and assented to by the president, then it becomes law, that the judiciary can come in to interpret and enforce. There's nothing like that. And this is something that immediately, with supersonic speed, it should have been jettisoned, not entertained at all by the court. Now what it means is that anytime any bill is before us, and we are working on it at this stage, anybody can just take it to the court. And that will mean that Parliament will have to stop and wait until the final determination of what? What are they to determine? Please. We are doing this for Ghana, and not for only today's generation, for generations yet unborn. We are building a durable, sustainable governance structure that gives certainty to everybody that is the rule of law that prevails, not of man or the rule by law. The two are not the same. When you rule by law, people are not certain of the law. And so even investors run away. And as a leader for so many years, from 2001, I've been a leader. I can mention so many serious investors who say they will not invest in Ghana because of uncertainty of the law. Attempts to invest here, you definitely have branches of the law, and then the courts and the system cannot tell you what the law is, and they lose a lot. So when you talk about unemployment, underdevelopment, and the rest, now who caused it? Leadership, I believe strongly, is cause. Everything else is effect. Even though followers matter. Followers matter. And that is where, in fact, we applauded the efforts of the president when in his inaugural speech, he talked about us being citizens and not what? Spectators. Today, Ghanaians are now more spectators than citizens. I think you have to wake up and become the citizens that he called us to be. That is where I'm moving towards. I don't have any ill will or malice, no. I don't have any ambition. If there's Honorable Bagbin or whatever people don't want, please, that one, I can assure you, I'll go and relax. And my holy village is always there to welcome me. I don't have any problem at all. But once I sit here, I take the decisions and I'm responsible. Nobody else but me. That's why I started with my oath. I swore the oath. And at the end of the day, when I'm to account for my life to my Creator, nobody is to do that with me. I'll be alone. And I'll be there. Those of you who will come later. Because I believe in life after death. In fact, we are even told that place is better than here. So I have no problem with dying. I'm always prepared anytime to die. But you will come after that. And you will come and meet me there. Eh? I'll tell you what seniority means.
The Right Honourable Speaker shall live to tell of the good works of the Lord.
There's one on there.
Oh, okay. I have indications that there are some two critical questions. So yeah, maybe after that, yes, then we can quickly go away.
Oh, recall. I can't say it's an abuse. The Constitution permits them to do what they do. It's just that, please, don't only think about today. Also think about tomorrow when you are doing some of these things. And for me, as I sit here, I thought the focus of those in government shall be about government business, not even the position they occupy. Which is more important? It's government business. As for the position you occupy, if you work well, you may even get a higher position. It's the good people of Ghana who will decide. So I'm surprised that some people are focused on that one. But tomorrow, you will hear from me.
We are bringing proceedings to a close, but I see
our
that
parliament so far is transformatory. In fact, this is a parliament. I've been from the first to the 8th. The first was foundational, and the late Right Honourable Justice Daniel Annan had to use all his experience and wisdom to establish the parliament. And so he started by transforming the rules that we inherited from the 79 to 81 parliament. That's the Third Republic. And also putting the structures and personnel in place, creating the opportunity for further training, education, and the rest. He did that. The second parliament, led by the late Right Honourable Peter Alajete, focused on trying to strengthen the second speaker, I should say.
Second speaker, third parliament.
To strengthen the institution of parliament. And you recall sometimes he had some rough edges with the president. No wonder he lasted for 4 years only. And it established a 4-year term for Speaker of Parliament. The fourth was trying to stabilize the third speaker. And that was Right Honorable Ebenezer Sechi Hughes. I worked with all of them. The fifth came, and that was our beautiful lady, Supreme Court Judge, Justice Adeline Bamford Addo. And she, with her experience from the bench, focused on the rules and dignity of the House. So you could see her dressing, her posture, her patience, and everything mattered to the institution. Then, the next speaker, that was my brother, very good friend of mine, who was my chief whip, became my deputy leader when I was the leader. Later on became first deputy speaker and became speaker. So he used his experience in the House and his connection with members, particularly their dealings at the Parliamentary Service Board, to initiate a lot of things. And then our professor came, who in the 1990s used to come to the workshop of Parliament to take us on issues of governance and the rest. because he was lecturing at the what? University of Ghana, the political science department. So we studied together. So I knew him long before he came. And I happened to be the second deputy speaker to him. So I have all that record and all the happenings in the house. And I saw how we struggled to change the rules of the game. But before I became speaker, the voters changed the rules. And so you now don't have a majority where you can just sit down and just put the question and you are sure the ayes have it. And so there is no day that I will go and preside without calling the leaders to my lobby for us to go through the agenda of the day, which is usually captured on what? The order paper, yellow. This is what is on the paper, cut from the business statement. How do we handle it? Then the leaders will tell me those that they agree, those that they disagree. Even when they disagree, how do we handle it? We discuss all that. Okay, how many from each side of the house? We discuss that. How many minutes per person? We discuss that. Then I just come to preside and enforce what we have discussed. That is why it's difficult for us to be sitting at 10. Because sometimes I have to get them to make sure that there's some peace before we go out there. This is what we do on a daily basis. I just don't come and preside and impose my ideas. Even when you go to voting, we agree. We will oppose. If you give ayes during the voice vote, we will challenge your decision. We will count heads. We will do secret voting. We will not allow public voting. We discuss all this. And so even some of the discussion at that period, when leaders go on air and go and reveal those conclave confidential information, what is that meant to achieve? I should not invite them to discuss things with them again. And what will happen on the floor? In spite of all that, for 4 good years, 4 good years, people are still not appreciative. And I am the target. Hey, this is my God. Hey, it's a living God, though. So please.
Mr. Speaker, we are live on GH1, GBC.
Oh, you are live.
And I would crave your indulgence that we take. I've seen some crucial questions that I think must be asked so that we can round up, so that they don't surcharge us for spending too much of their live airtime. And so we'll take the final tranche of questions, and then we will bring proceedings to a close. Very quickly, name, media house, question, no preamble.
Thank you very much. My name is Akufo-Addo. I work with the Daily Guide newspaper. Right Honorable Speaker, at the last agenda date, you said that because of the issue of composition and that of the fact that Parliament had the correct number to do business, but didn't have the correct number to undertake decision. You are recalling the House tomorrow. Can you tell us whether these issues have been addressed and whether there has been meeting between yourself and the leadership of the House such that tomorrow's recall will also not degenerate into that confusion? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, good afternoon. My name is Prince Asari from Pen TV. In your speech, you just said that you expressed concern about the fact that members of the House now are resorting to the Supreme Court to deal with conflicts that happen in the House. And you believe that that wouldn't help. Now we are having a conflict now. And I want to know that how do we handle this conflict resolution process and who is to initiate it? Because you said you have been doing this for many years. So how can we come together and solve this impasse?
Thank you. Let's move on.
My name is Isaac Ando, a freelance journalist. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In your speech, you indicated that the matter before the Supreme Court could have been handled internally through dialogue and compromises. Please, is it too late?
We are rounding up. Is there? Have we satisfied you now from this corner? Okay, I think we can. No Jara. I think we can successfully bring proceedings to a close with Mr. Speaker answering these questions. But I must also indicate that, Mr. Speaker, that TV3, 3FM, Joy FM, they are all broadcasting live. In fact, I have received City FM, GH1 TV, and I think, is it TV? Yeah, they are all live. So today's been one of the days that we've had the most live coverages, and we are grateful to you. Before the Deputy Clerk comes to say thank you, just to let you know that we are live on all these channels and on our own channels as well.
I'm extremely grateful to the media for this coverage. That is what is expected of the media, and truly for these 32 years, without the media, we wouldn't have gone this far. So, congratulations. We can always disagree, but once we have agreed to disagree as part of our life, it's permitted. There's no problem with that. Please, as to what will happen tomorrow, I don't know. I don't know, because I don't control that. But you know what happened the day of the adjournment? I don't see the young man again. Oh, you are the one standing up there. Yes. You know, as I told my friends on the NPP side, I had 3 options after you walked out. and it was only left with the NDC members. Accra proceeded with the business. Would they have been approved by the NDC MPs for government? Even if they did, would they not go and raise an issue about quorum to take decision? So that was not a legally accepted option. I could have decided to adjourn till the next day. But knowing the nature of the disagreement, would it have been solved within one night? No. Because I've seen that the nature of the disagreement goes beyond the House to the powers outside the House. And so we needed to engage many more people to be able to resolve the disagreement. So you need more time. And since I couldn't estimate the time, I decided that it should be what? Indefinite. After we resolved that, then Parliament could be recalled. If people were mindful that there's some agency for us to resolve it, they would have come together faster for us to talk, negotiate things, resolve it, and come back. But I tell you, apart from some senior citizens, patrons of the country, who actually got in touch with me, the leadership of the NPP members have not gotten in touch with me. They haven't. My good friend Oseche Mensah Bonsu spoke to me because he wasn't even around when this thing happened. And we discussed this and I threw more light on it. And he said, oh, he didn't know before granting interviews. He said those things, but now he can also say I should bring my official report, you know. So, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know of the resolution of the disagreement. And so I don't know what will happen tomorrow. But I'll be available to preside. You understand? And so that is the situation now. The last question. Proposal. Proposal. Well, am I now to propose it to you and Ghanaians? Or I should have been making the proposals to the parties so that they can be negotiating and compromising? I think that's the best way to do. And I'm expecting that, in fact, I need to praise some leaders because the first to get in touch with me, I think, was Apostle Nyamiche and the boss of the Christ Apostolic Church. They were the first to come to express concern and had a lengthy discussion. You know. Then later, a delegation of the Council of State also came to meet me in the office. And when I explained all the situation to them, in fact, many of them were really surprised because what they heard on air and what I had told them and said they could cross-check from the proceedings or others, they were really surprised because they didn't know that was what took place. There was so much misinformation and all those, and I don't want to go into those details because they are before the court. At the end of the day, the judgment of the court will set a lot of precedents. But don't forget, the law is that the Supreme Court can always differ from its earlier decision. That is the danger. So for a purpose, I can give a judgment and ruling to favor the situation. Tomorrow, I said, no. No, I disagree with that. And that is permitted by law. So when you tell me that, it means that the Supreme Court is supreme. And so when it orders, I must obey. When I know the same Supreme Court can disorder, you have to raise a question back. I'm a lawyer by profession. And the first time I appeared in the Supreme Court was 1983. 1983. That was my first case in the Supreme Court. I don't know whether those who are going there now were born, but it's okay. The last one is when I was young, I think when we were in the senior high, we were not calling it senior high, we were calling it secondary school. There was some song, it's too late to say that you are sorry. After you broken my heart. When I needed you to satisfy my soul. You turn your back and said,
now I think we should add singer to Mr. Speaker's because the skills keep adding as we go along. I said he was an old woman in an old man's skin. He refused, but and so I think that you'd all agree with me that we've had a very fruitful good afternoon. Mr. Speaker, may I also acknowledge that Daily Graphic Online, Class FM, Channel 1 TV, Onua TV and FM, newsalertgh.com live, and many other news portals are streaming live. Like I indicated, we are truly grateful. Mr. Speaker has said that he's grateful. As we bring proceedings to a close, Mohammed Nyagzi will give us the closing prayer. But before that, the Deputy Clerk in charge of Legislative Management, Camilo Puamang, will officially thank us, and then Mohammed will thank Allah, and then Mr. Speaker will take leave of us.
Thank you very much, Keitadu, for this program. Right Honorable Speaker, the leadership of the House here in present, and colleague deputy clerks.
Colleague Kwaku Asante is engaging some members on the minority and NDC side.
The Speaker of Parliament on the midnight of 7 January 2021, and he has been responding to a number of issues that have gone to court. He says he cannot say specifically what exactly is going to happen tomorrow when the House sits. He has also been talking about a number of issues that have been raised by the Chief Justice about whether or not there is a constitutional crisis. But ultimately, he has been accusing the executive and the judiciary of interfering in the duty of Parliament. He says that both the executive and the judiciary have been colluding to weaken and undermine the Parliament of Ghana. And he also speaks about the fact that there are several times where he had to bend over backwards to ensure that government business goes through. And despite doing this together with the NDC MPs, they are tagged and labeled as saboteurs. But he says that is not the case. I mean, really shortly we'll see if you can get some reactions about the specifics of some of these issues that have come up. Ultimately, again, the Speaker has been saying that the judiciary and the executive have sinned against the Constitution of Ghana and must repent. I mean, pretty strong words that the Speaker of Parliament has been using here. The closing prayers have been said. The leadership of the NDC caucus are here. Today, the Speaker of Parliament shied away from actually referring to any side as the majority or the minority. All he did was to refer to them by their political party and say that MPP or NDC. He kept doing all that. And pretty shortly we'll see if we can get some reaction from the NDC MPs who are here, and ultimately they will get some reaction on that. We will pretty get some reactions on this very important conversation that has been had over here in terms of the ability of the leadership of both houses, both sides of the aisle, to actually try and see if we can get one or two reactions. It's been a pretty big day. Like I was telling you, this is not something that has happened in the 8th Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament has not addressed journalists in such a manner, taking questions from journalists, addressing the Supreme Court heads on, and specifically taking on a number of the issues that have all come up in the public domain. He has described some of them as misinformation and disinformation, but ultimately, as Speaker of Parliament, he will continue to do his job. He's not going to shy away from that. He's going to ensure that the rule of law prevails. He says that it's a grand collusion, ultimately, by the Speaker of Parliament, by the executive and the judiciary, to weaken Parliament. We'll try and see if we can get some reaction briefly on some of these issues that have been coming up at this very extraordinary press conference. The leader of the NDC caucus, Kwame, will address us. We understand the whip, the chief whip on the NDC side will address the press pretty shortly about a number of the issues that have happened here, and a number of them coming here, and a lot of issues that have come in here. We are still trying to get some views from the leadership of the caucus, the NDC caucus, who have been here. I see the Honourable MP for Bolibambo, Yusuf Sulemana, who is leading out the colleagues in the NDC camp who have been here, and we'll try and pretty shortly get Honourable Kwame Governs Abuja leader. Today your colleagues, we understand you are going to address. Well, pretty shortly we understand that the NDC caucus are going to address the media, and so they are presently not speaking to journalists. They are going to address journalists outside of the Justice D.F. Annan Auditorium, where this press conference has been happening. We've been trying to get one or two words from them, given some of the very explosive issues that have been raised. They've all filed out together with the Speaker of Parliament, and they are going to also make their own arrangements and, as it were, address journalists on what they make of this. But ultimately, the Speaker of Parliament says he believes that both the executive and the judiciary have been colluding, as it were, to weaken and undermine the independence of the executive, for which reason he will not allow some of those issues to happen. He has not really gone into the matter of the court case, the questions that have been asked about these matters. He has also said that those are matters that are before the court, for which reason he's not willing to provide any update on that. He's said he has given firm instructions to his lawyers to respond to some of that. In fact, he has been taking on the Attorney General Godfrey Adame, who he accused of misleading the public on a number of issues. For instance, the Attorney General had raised the matter in court and said that the Speaker of Parliament was acting unconstitutionally. And in fact, in that interview with me, he said that the Speaker of Parliament may have committed a crime by actually going ahead to hire the services of Mr. Thaddeus Sori. The big issues, before we hand over back to Elton, as we prepare for this NDC MP's press conference here in Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament says there is an attempt by, and in fact he says there's a collusion, active collusion actually, by the executive and the judiciary to weaken the independence of Parliament. He says that this is not something that he is going to allow. He's also talking about how the Supreme Court and the executive, the President, have all sinned against the Constitution of Ghana. He also says the Chief Justice, when during that hearing of the application by the Speaker, did say that there is a constitutional crisis because Parliament is not sitting. He says there's no constitutional crisis, and that he, as the Speaker of Parliament, was right to have adjourned Parliament, and he did that pursuant to the powers that were bestowed on him by the standing orders and the Constitution, and he has not done anything at all. So, pretty no holds barred press conference that Alban Bagbin has been addressing here in Parliament, and pretty shortly we're going to get the reaction of the NDC group, who have all been here, and the Speaker of Parliament shying away from addressing either side as the minority or the majority. This is the first time. In fact, on the day he declared 4 seats vacant, he still referred to Alexander Afenyo-Markin as the majority. Today, he prefers to call them the NDC MPs, the NPP MPs, the NDC group, the NPP group, and all that. So the NDC MPs have insisted that they are in the majority, and tomorrow they will sit at the right-hand side of the speaker. That will mean that ultimately the same scenes as we saw 2 weeks ago when the House was adjourned indefinitely will happen if who heads do not prevail and both sides do not tone down on the interpreted language and also the entrenched positions that they've all taken on who is majority and who is minority. Mind you, there is a number of key business that the House would have to do. If the Parliament of Ghana does not do all this, there will be a lot of issues. So Elton, take it over. We are going to get our acts together, get to this news conference that the NDC group says they are going to address, and then we'll know what exactly they have to tell the public to sort of give us an understanding of what we can expect tomorrow when the House reconvenes for that emergency sitting that the NDC group, the MPP group, majority in Parliament triggered.
All right, thank you so much, Kwaku-Asante. Of course, we'll come back to you because the NDC wants to now tell us how their posture will be tomorrow when the recall is in session. Remember, the Speaker has recalled Parliament under an urgent notice by the MPP side in the Parliament. The sitting is tomorrow. Now, are we going to witness the same scenario that played out the last time that led to the MPP group abandon the House because the NDC side had taken over the right-hand side of the Speaker? That's the place reserved for the majority side. Now, tomorrow there's going to be another play in Parliament. What will be the posture of the NDC? They have a news conference that is coming up pretty shortly. We'll bring that to you live as and when they are ready. But for now, let's take a short break right here on the pause and return with more on the program. Right, this is a pause here on Joy News. We'll take you back to Parliament when the minority, the NDC group, is ready to tell us the posture they will present to the floor tomorrow. But before we do that, let's talk about also a very important matter. Now, in just 9 months, 34,000 persons contracted HIV in Ghana. That's the worrying data from the Ghana Health Service, which has expressed concern over the situation in Ghana. And this is what we've managed to put together to illustrate what the situation is here in the country. So 34,000 confirmed cases. This is statistics between January 2024 and September. And 1.3 million people screened, and out of the number, 34,000 were identified to be HIV positive. That's the situation here. So the trend of HIV infections, there you have it. So 33,350 between January and September, and the positive cases, established after the screening, 34,000, within just 9 months in the country. Well, the news this afternoon is that Ghana has targeted 0 new HIV infection by the year 2028. We are just 4 years away, in line with the United Nations AIDS schedule for eliminating HIV from the world. But is Ghana still on the track? Where did we fall? Shortly, let's listen to Dr. Chematu Ahene, the Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission.
It's helping, but we don't have enough test kits. And so we encourage people to use the self-test kit if available. And they can also access, self-test kits from some of the pharmacy shops and in the pharmacy shops, I think you have to part with some little money to be able to get the test kit. It is the responsibility of government and its partners to ensure that we have enough antiretroviral medicines for the people who live with HIV in the country. Currently, we don't have any stock up at the port. All of them have gone to the health facilities and the storage facilities across the country. We do not anticipate stock out in the immediate future. And so we have enough drugs for everybody at the moment.
let's explore more on this matter. And Dr. Chiametu Ahene, Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, joins me via Zoom. Dr. Chiametu, good afternoon and welcome. So 1.3 million screened, 34,000 identified to be HIV positive between January and September. This should be a worry to me and a lot of those who are watching us this afternoon.
Come again, please.
Yes, I was asking. I mean, 34,000 out of the 1.3 million screened identified to be HIV positive between January and September of this year. And I'm saying that this figure is a worrying development. And Doctor, if you can unmute for me so we can hear you. We are not getting the attention of Dr. Chiametu. Doctor, if you can unmute for me.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, thank you. Let me take you back to the national targets.
Right.
Our national target is that by the end of 2025, 95% of people living with HIV in the country should have been diagnosed.
Right.
And 95% of those who are diagnosed should be put on antiretroviral treatment and be supported to achieve viral suppression, which means that 95% of people on antiretroviral treatment must be virally suppressed. These are the targets that we've set for ourselves. Now, we know that we have estimated 334,000 people living with HIV in the country, and about 219,000 almost know their HIV status because they have been diagnosed, which means we have about 116,000 of the people who live with HIV in the country who have not been diagnosed. And the 34,000 that have been diagnosed this year is part of the 116,000 that need to be diagnosed. So in actual fact, I would have loved to see larger number of persons living with HIV being diagnosed. I mean more than the 34,000. But it's a progress. And so we should work harder so that by the end of the year, we can have about 60, 70,000 or even 100,000 people living with HIV who do not know their status to have been diagnosed so that they can receive the life-saving antiretroviral treatment.
Right. Dr. Chiametu, so this was done across the country or restricted to a certain area?
It's done across the country. It's a national aggregate data. So throughout all the regions and all the districts, data are included in this 34,000, the number of people who have been newly diagnosed.
So therefore, this figure, what message does it communicate? That people are having unprotected sex, or there's greater awareness about the reason why a lot of people are availing themselves for testing?
Yes, what it means is that we can provide testing for everybody who needs it because testing is free across the country. If you go to any public health facility, you can have free testing. If you want to use self-test kits, that's also available for use. And so it is important that everybody gets to know their HIV status. And as I said, testing is free. And so why would you not want to know your HIV status? Now, the second point I would like to make is that many people refuse to take the test because they are afraid of the outcome. They are afraid of the outcome, and some are also uncomfortable that if they test positive, they are likely to lose friends and relatives. They probably will be stigmatized. And some of them are maybe even afraid of what will happen to them in terms of employment and all that. Now we have laws in the country that protects everybody who lives with HIV.
Right.
No one has the right to stigmatize you or discriminate against you in any way because of your seropositive status. And so we encourage everybody to take the test. And if you face any such problem, if because of your HIV status you lose your job or you are being discriminated against in one way or other, whether in terms of promotion or job progression, just approach the Ghana AIDS Commission and we will support you to fight the case, and you definitely be protected by the laws of the country. But as for those who are afraid to test, yes, it is natural to be afraid to know whether you are HIV positive. When I took the first time, it was very difficult for me because I feared that once I have HIV, the end is death. But now the end of the road for HIV is not death.
Right.
In fact, if you get to know your status early, it even helps you to get a better health outcome from the treatment and all the related services that you will receive. And so you are better off getting to know your HIV status at a time when you are strong and show no symptoms to the disease. But if you wait until you let's say, get AIDS, then you have, yes, of course, the drugs are available. You will still be able to recover it on the drugs, but it is better you know your status when you are strong, when you are productive and healthy.
Right, doctor. So the infections that you are seeing, is there a particular age bracket that is so prevalent?
It's across all ages. When you look at the number of people living with HIV across the country, it's across all ages. New infections are across all ages. AIDS deaths are across all ages. However, we know that HIV, the people who are disproportionately affected are women for the obvious reasons, but in terms of both men and women, we are seeing the infections affecting more of the people, what we call the economically active population,
right.
From 25 or let's say 15 to 49 years old of age range. And so that is where the concern is, because these are the people who are productive and work to support the country in the age.
We appear to have lost Dr. Atuahene on the line. I don't know whether we still have him. I just want to clear some final question on funding, especially as they seek to sensitize more. Yes,
These
Doctor,
are
please.
the people who contribute to the growth of the economy and productivity. And if they should all develop AIDS and die, then we are going to have serious challenges with the economy of the country. And so it is important that people within these age ranges do well, who live with HIV, do well to adhere to treatment. And those who do not know their HIV status, they should test to know their status. And if they are positive, they will be given drugs, and they also have to adhere to treatment. And those who are negative should continue to do the things that keep them negative.
My final question for you, Dr. Atuahene, is about sustaining the education on HIV and AIDS, and whether funding is still a challenge. We know that the Global Fund appears to have issues with, the release of funds because of our status as a middle income, economy. Locally, or in terms of generating funding locally, is this something that you are struggling with, and how are you going about it?
Yes, funding is a big challenge because the funds that we need to support the AIDS response
is inadequate. And realistically, we are never going to find all the money that we need for the HIV fund, because the burden, the financial requirements to address the HIV burden keeps growing, and unfortunately, the support that we get is rather diminishing. And so we are never going to get all the money we need, which means we have to be efficient in cutting down costs, and we have to have, support from every sector of the country. So, for example, the media can also contribute their quota, as we did in the beginning. And I suggest that if every media house, whether radio or television, offers, let's say, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes a week to just disseminate HIV messages, that would help a lot. That will help a lot in reaching out to people with HIV messages. We now have more than 500 radio stations and almost 200 TV stations. It is most unlikely that the Commission will have the resources to disseminate HIV messages on all these channels. It's impossible.
All right.
And so
with that in mind, are you still confident that the target to eliminate HIV by 2028 is feasible, or we may have to revise it?
Well, it's a global target. These are global targets that all countries have signed up to, including Ghana. And by 2030, we should diagnose at least 98% of people living with HIV, and put 98% of those who are diagnosed on antiretroviral treatment and support them to achieve viral suppression. And so these are the targets we have signed up to, and revising them downward will not be a good idea. We should rather work together to increase the uptake of services, the life-saving prevention, treatment, and care services, so that we can achieve the targets. But for that to happen, we need the cooperation of all Ghanaians, because it is risky behaviors that expose people to HIV infection.
Right.
So if we will want, if each one of us will decide to reduce their risk to the barest minimum, and here I mean reducing multiple sexual partners, reducing multiple sexual partners, use condoms consistently and correctly, and those who are not sexually active, if they can if they can abstain from sex, then we will be making a headway. And mothers should also, pregnant women should access prevention of mother-to-child treatment or prevention services, so that they do not pass the virus to their unborn baby. And it is possible to achieve that. We have thousands of babies whose mothers are HIV positive and they are HIV negative. And it is possible because we have the medicines to help us achieve that. And so every mother should make it a point, if they live with HIV, to ensure that they go to hospital go for antenatal services during pregnancy, and comply with all that their doctors and midwives would advise them to do. And if they observe those things and adhere to treatment and give birth at hospitals, so that children will have access to, babies will have access to prophylaxis and be supported to protect themselves against HIV infection, then all those babies will remain negative even after birth.
Right, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Dr. Chairman Tuakene is the Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, and the news this afternoon is that they undertook some screening. About 1.3 million Ghanaians were undertaken through screening for HIV and AIDS. Now, out of the number, 34,000 were identified to be HIV positive, and this was done across the country between January and September. The caution here is that protect yourself, avoid multiple sexual partners, and if you cannot do so, use protection if you are engaging in any sexual activity. Let's move away from AIDS and talk about examination, because the West African Examination Council has successfully wrapped up this year's WASI and BEC exams, marking key milestone in Ghana's academic calendar. However, with the upcoming November-December exams still on the horizon, WAEC faces pressing questions about its financial stability. How has WAEC managed to navigate these obstacles, and what support might be needed to ensure the continuity and quality of its examination services? John Kape is Director of Public Affairs of the West African Examination Council, and he joins me. Mr. Kape, good afternoon and welcome to the poll. So, it's been a good year for you, you will say?
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. Well, in terms of the conduct of the examination and the cooperation we've had from the various stakeholders, I would say yes, we are patting ourselves on the back that we had a good year.
The last time I hosted you in the studio was after the conduct of the senior high school level examination, and a few issues came up. The kind of strategies adopted by certain schools to cheat the system, and then the action you took, which led to even the arrest of some of them. Generally, will you say that in the midst of some of these things that you identified, the West African examination, the WASI, turned out to be good?
Well, you know, when we conduct examinations, we look at it from a number of angles. One would be our preparation towards exam. The next would be the conduct of the exam itself. And then the third stage would be the marking and processing of results. I would say that in terms of compiling and preparing our question papers for the exams, we had a smooth exercise. In the course of the conduct, yes, there were a number of infractions that were recorded, and all those who were found guilty or were found culpable, would have themselves to blame. The teachers in particular were reported to the police, but then the candidates who were involved will have their scripts scrutinized, and if they are found guilty, they would have their results cancelled. So we have now gotten to the stage where we are going to start the marking of the scripts. And so that is another stage that we are looking at, and hopefully we'll be able to conclude that one also successfully.
So as we talk about, or as we look forward to November, December, I'm wondering whether all financial commitments have been fulfilled.
Right. So when we talk about our exams, we have the school candidates exam, and then the private candidates exam. Now, the just concluded one, the one that we are just about to start marking, is that for the school candidates. And for that one, the government has taken it upon itself to pay the full fees of the candidates. But when it comes to the November, December, or what we call WAS for private candidates, it is the candidates themselves who pay the fees. And so really, government has no commitment to any of those who are writing those examinations.
So, does that suggest that as far as the BEC and the WASI are concerned, you don't have any outstanding issue with government regarding funding?
We have very, very huge outstanding bills to be settled by the government. Well, first of all, let me say that we are grateful that for the BEC, they were able to pay a substantial amount of money. And so we're able to pay the examiners right after the marking was over. We've been able to pay also a number of script checkers and a few invigilators and supervisors. But there's still an outstanding amount of about 4.9 million to be paid. And our hope is that when that gets paid, we would be able to settle our indebtedness to our invigilators and supervisors, and also to pay those who did the script checking. Now, when it comes to the WAS, we still have quite a lot of money to collect. For the fees for 2024 stood at 186.437 million Ghana cedis. Now, before the commencement of the examination, the government paid us 60.976 million. And so that's all that we got. And that represented just about a third of the amount. So the rest of the 2/3 has still not been paid. And we still have some outstanding from 2023. That's about 40.4 million. So if you put these two together, we are hitting around 165.9 million Ghana cedis that we expect the government to, provide for us in order that we can conclude our activities for the year successfully.
And is this in any way impacting on your ability to do your work and do it well?
Obviously, yes, because the examiners expect to be paid right after the marking exercise is over. Last year, it took us almost about a year to clear all the payments. Our fear is that this year, if they are not assured of any payments, they could hold us to ransom. And this is what we're trying to avoid, and that is why we are making a passionate appeal to the Ministry of Education to release the funds to us so that we can assure examiners of payment so as not to be held to ransom, and then we can also keep to our timelines.
Because I was coming to the possibility that this may delay the release of the results if you're unable to pay your examiners on time.
Yeah, so that is what it means. For now, we are not saying that the results will delay, but if for some reason they are not assured of payment and they choose to keep the scripts, then it is possible that the results would delay.
Mr. Kapi, there's also the outstanding issue of some candidates you are investigating their scripts. I don't know when they will have access to it.
Right. So we have concluded our internal investigations. A number of them, we looked at them and the evidence was inconclusive. So we have released those results and their results have been submitted to a placement center for them to be able to, go to senior high school. A few of them, there was clear evidence of collusion. There was clear evidence of copying. And so those ones we are inviting to come and then give evidence of whatever happened, because we need to give them also a hearing. You can never tell, probably some teacher from somewhere was the reason for which all of that happened. We are not too sure about that. So we need to have an interaction with them so as to ascertain, whoever is guilty, and then we place the blame squarely at their doorsteps.
And when are you concluding on that so that they can know their way clear?
So come next week, already we are putting out adverts. We are asking them to visit our website to check their status and also to find out the dates on which they are to meet our teams and then probably have that interaction.
How many are we talking about here? Sorry, sir.
Say it again.
I was asking, how many are we talking about here? How many candidates are involved?
Wow, I don't have the figures immediately in front of me, but the number is quite large. It's quite large across the country. It's not just one region only.
Okay. Mr. Kapi, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I was going to ask another question, but it looks like we have to take our viewers to Parliament shortly because the minority wants to update on how they will present themselves on the floor of Parliament tomorrow. When we have the feed, I will take you live to Parliament House for that. We can now listen into the minority, the MDC Group News Conference.
At appropriate time, as directed by Mr. Speaker, we shall take our rightful place in the chamber up to where we sit and wait for whatever businesses that may come in front of us. Our advice to our colleagues in the minority NPP is to try and prioritize business that is in the interest of the people of this country, and they shall find favor and cooperation with us in time to deal with those businesses. We can assure them that as long as the business
is in the interest of improving the lot of Ghanaians, they can count on the majority NDC caucus in Parliament to support those initiatives to pass those the things that would help the people of this country. So it is a very brief information we are giving you. We will be attending upon the House as directed by Mr. Speaker. We shall be taking our seat in the chamber in accordance to the majority side, which we are in Parliament, and we shall be open to supporting our colleagues in the minority to conduct businesses that are in the interest of the people of this country. Thank you.
Leader, yes, my name is Ibrahim Hassan. I work with G1 TV Director. Leader, tomorrow you are returning. You've well indicated that you will occupy the right-hand side of the speaker, just as you did before the meeting was suspended. I'm aware that from today we are 31 days away from December 7th. How much of further delays, as far as sitting is concerned, can your side tolerate? If, for instance, tomorrow there's another adjournment, how much of that can you tolerate before you say that we are not returning, we have to campaign, we have to return to the next Parliament?
Okay, thank you. First of all, we don't have any control as to how many times our colleagues can activate that portion of the Constitution and standing orders, and we invite us to a needless emergency recall. That is entirely within their bosom. But I can agree with you that we are all on the field campaigning for our constituents to renew our mandate. How long can we take this? As long as they are ready to be recalled, I can guarantee you we shall be available to be attending upon the House as directed by Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader. My name is Timon. I would like to find out from you, after the Speaker's ruling, you declare your side as the majority, and you propose to come under private bill to repeal certain laws or certain bills or levies that was imposed on Ghanaians by this government. Are we seeing the steps being taken tomorrow, as you still insist that you are the majority side?
Yeah, well, as you rightly said, the House was adjourned because we didn't have, as Mr. Speaker directed, we didn't have the numbers that could take decisions. So even if we decided to repeal e-levy on that day, we didn't have the numbers to be able to do that. But the most important thing is that tomorrow we shall attend upon the House, and whatever business is scheduled, we will be there to do that business. Whether it's a repeal of anything or any bill that comes, we shall be there to do business.
I work with TV3. My question is this. So, this desire that the NDC caucus has had for a very long time, since 2020, that they were the majority in Parliament. Now you are the majority in Parliament. What do you say to those who say that, or who think that you want to be majority to frustrate government business? Is there any commitment from your side that you will support government business tomorrow henceforth?
Well, the record in the House suggests that for a very long period of time, if you check the numbers of colleagues in the House, at any time that a bill or something is tabled, it is more likely to see the NDC members in a higher number than the NPP. So the record is that we have actually supported government business, and Mr. Speaker's press conference here is an indication of that, that we have actually cooperated with the NPP side on many, many things, whether there are loans, there are bills. I have here the chairman of the Environment Committee. You attest that if you follow that bill, members of the NDC were more interested and have been available in crafting that bill. It's at the third reading now. So there's no evidence that the NDC actually frustrates anything. What we would not tolerate is any bill that is intended to deepen the hardship on the people of this country. I think the Constitution and the people of this country do not expect that we should actually support any bill that will make life even more difficult for them. So as long as the bill is in the interest of improving the lot of Ghanaians, you can count on us to be in support of that.
I think that with the current numbers, 137, and with Honorable Speaker.
So that's the NDC side, the NDC caucus in Parliament addressing the media. Tomorrow they will be in the House to respond to an urgent recall by the Speaker of Parliament. And this urgent recall was triggered by the MPP side. And they've indicated they will support government business so long as it is in the interest of the country. There's a lot to chew on these matters. The Speaker's news conference responding to what he described as interference in the work of the legislature by the executive arm of government and the judiciary. Also makes the point there is no constitutional crisis. Parliament is alive and conducting its business. Tomorrow is a very important day. You don't want to miss any of it. But we're going to analyze the issues that came up today at the news conference on Top Story on Joy FM, News Night on Joy FM, of course, on Joy This Program. But there's more stories on myjoyonline.com. This is why Parliament isn't respected. Bagbin criticizes MP's tendency to involve Supreme Court in parliamentary matters. Akufo-Addo and Judiciary have sinned against the Constitution. That's according to the Speaker of Parliament. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope is profitable. My name is Elton Gobe. See you same time tomorrow here on The Pulse. Good evening.